when PED hit the US, it caused about $1 billion worth of damage. And if you can imagine African swine fever, which is another pathogen, killed about a third of China's hog industry, and it's one of the ones we're concerned about now. But if we can come up with these kind of strategies to control any foreign disease outbreaks that come along, I think we're going to be further ahead. The barns have been very biosecure for years. And there's always shower in, shower out. The transfer to another barn or to a processing facility has always been fairly biosecure. So when this PED broke out, it was really the transport trucks. They could not figure out, was this pathogen moving by air? Was it moving in dust? What was it? And I just happened to be sitting in Saskport's office when the federal minister of agriculture phoned and said, we've got a problem, PED jumped the border, we think it's in the trucks, what are we going to do about it? And truck cleaning went from cleaning them quicker and faster to all of a sudden pathogen-free. And when you think of pathogen-free, now all of a sudden you're thinking of microorganisms that are smaller than a bacteria. If I cross two dimes on that intersection, I can put 8,000 by 8,000 grid of viruses on it. That's 64 million viruses. And I only need maybe 500,000 or so to cause of infection. That's a different engineering problem than just an automated wash system or a mechanical thing. We actually asked a postdoc veterinarian to go through the Iowa swine manual and look at all the viruses and pathogens of concern to the swine industry and see if we could find a common thread in there as to what might inactivate those pathogens. Most of these viruses and bacteria really don't like heat that is outside the normal body temperature of an animal, and that means heat up around 60, 75, 80 degrees Celsius, so it's not even boiling point of water. So it seemed like there was an opportunity there to actually be able to do something on a 53-foot trailer to make them pathogen-free. So I'm a big proponent of community-engaged research. It's a really good way of getting feedback and also to knowledge mobilization. And I've actually never seen a probably better example than this one, where we had the funding agency, SIP, allowed us funding to bring together people from across Canada, from the trucking industry to the provincial veterinarians and the pork producer sector, Manitoba pork, Sask pork, Alberta pork, together to advise us on, are we going in the right direction? Is this something that's going to work for the industry? The day before this particular group was going to meet, we asked the lab to rerun PED because it just seemed kind of persistent. So Dr. Volker Gertz from Vidéo and I were at the meeting, and Volker walked into the hallway and he phoned the lab and said, what are the results from this rerun of this test? Volker walks back in the room and had a slideshow up about all the rest of the results. He said, except PED. PED is 75 degrees for at least 15 minutes. And all the trucking companies, they all of a sudden ignored us, and they're all on their phone. And what we didn't realize was each of these truck wash facilities, they bring the trucks in, they scrape them, they flood wash them, then they pressure wash them, and they spray them with the disinfectant, but they don't want them to go outside in the middle of winter because they'll form ice on the floor. So they put them in another room and they put furnaces in the back and they dried them at 40 degrees Celsius. So all of a sudden they told their staff, turn the furnaces up to 100 degrees, put a thermocouple on a stick, put it in as far as you can, and do the best you can to get to 75 degrees for 15 minutes. It was no more than 20 minutes from when Volker Gertz talked to the lab at Vidéo to where it was pretty much implemented across Canada as a standard to heat trailers to control pathogens. And so now I have to heat a 53-foot trailer with a bunch of gates and walls and things in it to 75 degrees for 20 minutes. Now it's an engineering problem. And so the industry was already going. They had furnaces stuck in the back, and yeah, they melted a few lights, but how do you sense where the cool spots are? And so part of our proposal was, well, let's put some sensors in there that tell us what trailer it is, where the trailer's at. So I need GPS, an ID tag, and I want a record of the heating of this trailer. But once you put electronics in a trailer, you might as well add things like humidity and temperature while they're transporting the animals and all those kind of things. There was a company called Transport Genie, a small startup that had just had the same idea that as we moved from a logbook to a digital logbook, that why can't I put in the ceiling of the headspaces a sensor for temperature and relative humidity so I know the animal care and the animal comfort while I'm transporting. We kind of said, why are we doing this separately? And I went to them and I said, look, why don't we work together? You guys are already going to commercialize this. Add a piece onto it for me or for us that senses the temperature during these heating. They said, yeah, let's do that. But they said, you know, we really need someone to also test our sensors. Would you be willing to do that? So we collaborated both ways. And of course, people that design little sensors don't know what curious hogs can do to a sensor. And of course, so the first time they sent us a sensor, they were so proud of it, and we sprayed it with chemicals and broke it and melted it right away. And so this went on, and both the fourth, fifth one they sent us, they said, okay, we've got this figured out. You can't wreck this one. So sure enough, it was fantastic sensor, but there was a 20-minute lag from the time the temperature changed to the time they recorded it, and that's far too long. Another couple iterations, and I think they're at where they are today, where they've got something that's quite durable and it does what it's supposed to do. That collaboration was really good for both of us. We ended up with a verification system that the industry can install in trailers. Not only can they now measure temperature and relative humidity and animal care, animal comfort while they're transporting, I follow it with GPS. I know it went to the wash rack, went through the wash rack, and I have this verification of a bunch of sensors in there in the cool spots that this actually got to 75 degrees for 20 minutes, which is a proxy for decontamination of pathogens of concern. And so the other part of this was this trailer cleaning thing. The hydrovac thing was successful, but we couldn't figure out a way to drag the hose in and operate this thing. And a robot we tried, and it didn't work. You could make it work, but maybe we were perfecting a bad idea. So we went back to this industry group and we said, what do you think? And they said, well, frankly, we've kind of changed things now. Now we actually sweep the trucks out where we drop the animals, and then we wash the truck somewhere else. So we said, well, okay, well, what do you need now? And they said, well, if you could go back and have Tammy just figure out how to sweep the trucks without me having to crawl around with a little scoop shovel, that'd be fantastic. And there's this company called Truck Wash Technologies out of Sault Ste. Marie that's got this wash system that they've been washing trailers that when we build them, they wash the welding flux off with acid. They can wash a trailer any shape you want. Sure enough, they could. So Truck Wash Technologies has a design, and they've developed a wash head to be able to wash these trucks automatically. Well, check one. Now I got to be able to go back. I got to get this swept out, and I don't want to crawl in there with a little shovel. So the Prairie Agriculture Machinery Institute, they looked around, they thought, they said, you know what? These steel lawn sweepers, so the steel, you know, like weed whacker, lawn sweeper type things, what if we took one of them, and then somebody over there that's really smart said, why don't we just reverse the gearbox so to sweep toward us, we'll put some brushes on the edge, and you know what? These things also come with a blower. So we could go in, battery pack, all I got to do is pull all the material toward me, and I can vacuum it out or push it out the side. And then I can take a blower and I can blow all the little shavings away, so when it does go to the truck wash, I don't plug up any nozzles. So now there's a company has come to us, and their expertise is in going to farms and washing trailers on farm. So you don't have to go near a truck wash. If you don't want to risk having one of these little pathogens get anywhere near your truck, total biosecurity, they'll come to you and wash the truck. I think there's just a richness when it comes to being able to follow the science and contribute and build teams of experts to tackle these problems. To me, that's really the true value of this community engaged or producer engaged research.